Elite Facts presents
10 of the most notorious gangsters.
10.
Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy Siegel was an American mobster who was known as the boss of the Genovese crime family. He was also known for being one of the most feared gangsters of his time because of his ruthlessness towards his associates. To put it plainly, he was not to be messed with. In the 1940s, he controlled and financed some of the original casinos in Las Vegas and became a bootlegger.
9.
Rahzel de Blanco. Rahzel de Blanco is a pioneer of one of the biggest cocaine drug trades in Miami. She spent her childhood up to her late teens as a pickpocket and a prostitute. When she grew up, she was indicted on federal drug conspiracy charges and was sentenced to be incarcerated for 10 years. Jail time didn't stop her, as she still ran her cocaine trade business from behind bars with some outside help. Because of this, she was given the nickname the Godmother of Cocaine.
8.
James Burke. Probably best known for his portrayal by Robert De Niro in the critically acclaimed film Goodfellas, Irish-American gangster James Burke was the head of the Lucchese crime family in the 1970s and was accused of having been involved in the brutal murder of several people at the time, including having a hand in the death of William "Billy Bats" Benvena. He is believed to have been the brains behind the Lufthansa heist, an extensive robbery that took place in the John F. Kennedy International Airport in 1978, which brought in around $2 million to his account. He was eventually ratted out by Henry Hill in 1980, and he was sent to prison.
7.
John Dillinger. John Dillinger had been involved in crime throughout his entire life. Some of his crimes would include robbery of about 25 banks and police stations in the United States, as well as the murder of several people in Chicago. He rose to popularity during the Depression era of the United States and was considered the most notorious of all notorious criminals in the country. His crime family went directly head-to-head with the FBI.
6.
Enoch "Nucky" Johnson. Political leader of the Atlantic City and Atlantic County, Enoch "Nucky" Lewis Johnson began his rise to power when he was elected as the new sheriff of the Atlantic County Republican-Mexican Committee. He led a notorious organization involved in prostitution and gambling and was an advocate of the vice industry of the United States. His acts were so notorious that a TV show was loosely based on his life and crimes under the title Boardwalk Empire.
5.
The Kray Twins. Reginald Kray and Ronald Kray were twin brothers and British gangsters who were behind the series of organized crimes in East London. They were primarily involved in large-scale robberies, assaults, arson, and protection rackets, as well as the murder of the notorious criminal from London, Jack the Hat McVitie. These two were feared by everyone.
4.
Carlo Gambino. A mobster of Sicilian origin, Don Carlo Gambino was the head of the Gambino crime family from 1957 to 1966. He stood up against the Anastasia Loyalists in the 1960s and expanded his rackets to several parts of the United States until he was able to control about 90% of the ports in New York and gained millions. His crime family was the most powerful in Manhattan back then. It is because of his reign as Don that the entire crime family was named after him.
3.
Pablo Escobar. Probably the most famous Colombian drug lord, Pablo Escobar controlled several drug empires, and he murdered thousands upon thousands of people around the world. He led one of the most powerful and feared criminal organizations ever assembled in history, and had power over several empires of mansion, airlines, and gangs composed of soldiers and notorious criminals. He hired several hitmen to kill police officers who were in pursuit of him and paid millions. It is said that because of him, the crime rate in Colombia skyrocketed during his reign as drug lord.
2.
Al Capone. Most famously known as the real Scarface, Al Capone was an American gangster who pioneered the crime world during the Prohibition era by having his hand in businesses such as liquor smuggling and prostitution. At a very young age, he became a member of a notorious gang in New York and engaged in different illegal activities such as bribery among government figures. Capone was certainly no pushover. If he had a problem, he would take care of it in the most brutal way possible, hence the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. A few years before he died, he led a Prohibition-era crime syndicate and was brought down by Detective Elliot Ness on the grounds of tax evasion. He spent the rest of his life behind bars.
1.
John Gotti. John Joseph Gotti Jr., born October 27, 1940, and died June 10, 2002, was an Italian-American gangster who became boss of the Gambino crime family in New York City. Gotti and his brothers grew up in poverty and turned to a life of crime at an early age. It was said by Henry Hill, another famous gangster who was known for ratting on his family, that John Gotti was the one responsible for the death of Tommy DeSimone after DeSimone had previously killed made man William Billy Bats Benvena. One of the reasons it's believed that Gotti killed DeSimone was because he and Billy Bats were friends who were a part of the same crew.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.